everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over an Ancestry for Beginners video. So we have a bunch of different things that I want to cover in this video. Feel free to skip around, jump around to whatever part you want to look for or whatever part you need to know, or if you're just here to learn more about Ancestry, then welcome. There will be a bunch of timestamps down below in the description box, so if you're wanting to save this video to be able to come back and easily find what you're looking for, that'll be down in the description. So what is Ancestry? Ancestry is a genealogical database that allows you to create trees and kind of explore your family tree. You could do this and start this off from you as your person, or you could do this for another family member. Personally, I have a bunch of different trees that I have. I've got one that starts with me, and then a few other ones that start with other family members on the lines that I am working on more in depth, so then I don't have to go searching for it. So that's what we're going to be creating today, but all of this applies to if you were just starting with you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new tree. So I'm going to go into trees here, and then I'm going to scroll down and I am going to click create and manage trees. So this will bring me a list of all the different trees that I have. I'm going to create a new tree here, and it'll bring us to this view, which is going to allow us to add a first person that we want to add. So this could be, again, this could be you, this could be another person. I'm going to have this be for someone who I am researching frequently. So I am going to add them here. So I often look on my husband's line, and that line is going to be the Jones line. So we are going to add in a first, a middle name, a last name, any suffixes. I'm going to uncheck that I'm starting with myself here, but if you were starting, you wanted to start with yourself there. Then you'd go ahead and add any information that you want to add here to start with. One thing that I like to think about is that any information and any and all information that you can give Ancestry about this specific person, it will spit back out at you as much information as it can in its hints. So if you add in just a birth date and not a birthplace, then the system doesn't have as much to go off of when it's trying to help you expand your line. So I am going to type in their birth date. All right, and make sure that it is standardized, and that should be like a little green check mark there. And then let's go ahead and go into a birthplace. All right, and I'm not seeing any of the correct birthplaces, so I'm just going to add it how it is, or just I guess how I typed it in. Sometimes you're able to find the birthplace correctly, but let's go ahead and add in a death place here as well. And it's okay if you don't know any of this information, and then you can search for that later on. All right, let's go ahead and add that there. And so now that we have in the information that we have, I am going to click continue. So that is pretty much how you start your tree. You're going to start with your main person. This could be you, this could be another person, and then you're going to add people further on. So this helps you to add in more hints and to expand your tree. So right now I am going to add a spouse here, just because that makes things a little bit easier. And go ahead and add their gender as well as if they are deceased, and then you're going to add in their relationship that they are to your main person. So now here I am going to add in their birth date. And make sure that it's standardized so then the system knows what it's searching for or what it's searching with. All right, and it looks like we do have their birthplace here, whereas we did not with her husband. Let's go ahead and add in a death date, because any and all information helps to let the system know who we are searching for. All right, let's go ahead and click continue. And then we are going to be asked to save our tree. We can make this a public or a private tree. So if it's public, then other people will be able to see your work and kind of copy paste it over to their own work if they so choose that it is the correct information. Or you can make this a private tree, and then they will not be able to see it at all. One thing though about it is that you will not be able to see any of the living people. So if you had yourself and you're still marked as living, then they would not be able to see you or your information. I'm going to allow this to be public, and I'm going to click Save Tree here. Okay, so there are a bunch of different views that it's having us show. So a fan view, it would show the main person in the middle, and then it would fan out to the different family members. So this would be the paternal side and the maternal side, and then it would go branch off from there. That could be great if you're looking at things as a whole and you're looking at different places to search for next and expand out further. I'm going to click Got It. Personally, this is my favorite view from within Ancestry, just because it's easy for me to see who belongs to who and see if there are any children or where the hints are. So from here, now that we've created that tree and we've added a spouse and a relative to the tree, I am going to show you how to connect this with Family Search and then add many generations from there. So Family Search is a genealogical database that allows you to connect people from there. Now there are pros and cons to both Ancestry and Family Search. Family Search is like one big shared family tree, whereas this Ancestry is more of a private. So you're not going to have to worry about people coming in and editing as much as you would with Family Search. But it can be a great thing to cross them over and be able to add multiple people, so then you can get to work as quickly as possible on things that you're wanting to research. So I'm going to go into his profile here. I just clicked on his name and then clicked on his name again. So to get into Family Search, there's going to be a little tree button right here. It might look different depending on when you're watching this video, but I'm going to sign in to Ancestry, and I've already signed in. So it will allow me to do that, and it looks like, yes, this is the correct person here. So you can see this is the Family Search one, and this is the Ancestry one. So over here, you can see that it looks like the same information, just about, and yes. So I am going to connect the people here. And now if we wanted to go ahead and add 4 generations, which can help us a lot, what we could do is we can go back up to the tree. So this person on Family Search and Ancestry are connected via the systems. So now I'm going to add relatives. I can choose to add spouses or parents or children. I can do this at one at a time, but I could also just add up to 4 generations. So what this means is for Amos, we can add up to 4 more people that go back from him, but we can't add children this way. You'd have to add children one at a time. So I am going to click continue here. So now it's going to think and it's going to add those people from Family Search. This might take a little bit of time, but I tried not to edit that down so then you can see how fast that went. It went pretty quickly. So now if we go back to the Jones family tree, I'm going to click got it. You can see now that it can add up to 4 generations from George, but it doesn't have to, which is super exciting that I'm seeing these potential parents up here, because this is an end of the line for me on Family Search. But you can see it only added up to 2 on the paternal side, but it added up to 4 on the maternal side. So again, it will only add up to as many as it has on Family Search. All right, let's go back into Amos, and we are going to show you how to add in a spouse from this spot. So here you can see that we are on his page. We've got some facts, and his family is going to be over here. So I do know from my research on another platform that I have another spouse of his. So I'm going to go ahead and click the spouse. Let's go ahead and add in her information. And I do know that she is female and is deceased. Her relationship is a spouse. So now we can add in some more information. The more information that you have, the better. And that's okay if you don't have too much information. Right now, we're just adding things in that we do know, and then we can find sources to help expand later on. All right, so now that we have our information in, and again, these green checks are really, really awesome here because that lets you know that the system understands where it is and it can standardize it, and that can be searched off of. So I am going to click save. A little fun fact about me is that professionally, I am a database developer. And so I know how these databases work. And so it's really easy for me to be able to understand the more information that you put in to this type of database, the more information that you're going to be able to get out of it. So even if it seems like a silly piece of information, like if they lived in this one place for this one year, like in 1950 they lived in Camas, Washington, then that system will be able to draw upon that piece of information and possibly find a link for you. So even if it seems like a silly piece of information, don't think it's too silly, because it could really lead to a lot of really awesome breakthroughs. All right, so now that we've added a spouse, let's go ahead and show you how to add a child. So a couple of different ways that we could do this is we could add relatives again from Family Search. So he's got a couple of more children here that we could add from Family Search, and it would allow us to create the correct relationships from there. We'd also add in the same way that we added a spouse, but instead of creating a spouse right here, you would either click son, a daughter, or you could add in a brother or a sister. This also helps to find the correct information. If you were to add in a brother or a sister, then you could possibly help to find his parents, even if they didn't have any parents listed yet. If you were trying to create like a niece or a nephew for this person, then you would go ahead and you would add their parents, even if you didn't know too much information about them. So then you could hopefully let the system know how to search for that specific person and give you the right hints. Let's go ahead and go back to the Jones family tree. And the next thing that we're going to cover is looking at hints. So let me zoom in on this because it's a little tiny for me. So as you can see over here, we have a bunch of different green little leaves. So these are really awesome. These are called hints. So like we've been talking before about how you put in information, then the system will spit back out at you possible things. These are called hints. So hints are potential matches to sources or to other family trees within Ancestry. So I am going to click on this person here, and we are going to look at this little leaf, and it says that we have 20 possible hints, which that's a ton of hints. Those are 20 possible sources that we could find that could support this person. Now let's go through these. So the first one is going to be other Ancestry member trees. These are going to be public trees that other people have worked on and they have added information. And so those are really great. Other things is that we have some photos here of him that we could add to our family tree and make this Jonathan Jones really come alive for us, so then we know what he looks like. Because if we see that we can see the birth date and the death date's correct, if we go in, there's his picture. And that just really, really makes things come alive and really makes this feel tangible. And we have some more photos. If we keep scrolling down, we should be able to find some more information. So after the trees and the photos, we have some different censuses list. We have Find a Grave, which is a really, really awesome resource. Probably one of my favorite resources to do genealogical work, especially in the United States. Go ahead and review this hint that is from a census. So it looks like if we go up to here, so we want to compare this information before we save it to our tree. So it says the birth date is in October of 1852. Yep. We have the name correct. The birthplace is in North Carolina. Home was in Oregon, which makes sense because he passed away in Oregon. Yeah, let's go ahead and add this. I feel comfortable adding it. So there will show some information that is different, but it just could mean that it is slightly off. So John and Jonathan Jones, that's pretty much the same name. It's a different birth date, but that's okay because it has the same year, same place-ish. It just is missing the day. The marriage says 1879. I'm okay with that being just 1 year off because it could be calculated from a census, which isn't 100% accurate. It might be 1 to 2 to 3 years off, depending on when it was taken. So now it shows that we have a new piece of information, which is a residence. And then it can show that we have some new people here that were on the census, which are going to be his spouse and his children, which is super exciting. Now we can add these people in because this is indeed the same person. And I'm going to click next and we can go ahead and choose who we want to add here. Marguerite Jones, this is the same person as Margaret Shue, is just spelled differently, or maybe the person who was indexing it didn't quite get the right spelling. So I am going to say yes, and then we can add in any new information, which is going to be the residence. And then we can go ahead and add in any children that we want by clicking here, and it will add their birth date, which is a lot better than having to do it manually. So I'm going to go in and add all of these different people here. We got one more. All right, now we can click Save to Tree. And it might take a little bit. I'll try not to edit this down. There we go. And that was real time how long it took for me. All right, so that is going to be how you work on doing different hints. Let's go ahead and talk about Ancestry member trees. So these can be correct. These can also be incorrect. Let's go ahead and review these 3 other public Ancestry member trees. Okay, so it's going to tell you the name, the owner of it, and a couple other pieces of information. One thing that I like to look off of is how many sources do they have? Because in my opinion, the more sources that you have attached to that person on their tree, the more likely the information is going to be correct. If you have about 0 pieces of information, then the information is just probably not going to be correct. So typically it's going to be listed, the higher up you are on your Ancestry member trees, the more sources that they're going to have. You can add information from multiple other Ancestry member trees at one time, but I'm just going to select this top one right now to show you how to do it. So I'm going to review the selected tree hints. And what we can do is we can pick the pieces of information that might be new or that might be different that we want to add to our tree. Here I'm looking at Jonathan Jones, and it looks like all the information is similar except for maybe a few pieces of formatting. So you can see here the death date over here on these 2 different pieces. It's just formatted differently. I am going to keep scrolling down. It looks like these pieces of information are very similar, so I'm not going to add anything new. One thing that is really interesting is that it will show you, even though it's a little bit hard to see because it's not quite a shadow. Let me check this person. You can see if it's different or if it's new. Anything new is going to be green. Anything that's different is going to be probably a brownish color. So one thing that I like here is that it shows us she has a different name here, which is just going to add in a little bit more pieces of information. So before we did not have her middle name or a nickname. Her birthday is a little bit different, but it's great because it gives us the actual day and not just the month, as well as the birthplace. Gives us the city and the county rather than just the state. So I am going to connect those 2. We can do the same thing for their children. And it looks like this person put in a lot of time and effort into creating the tree. And all this information looks correct, and it looks similar to what was on that census that we got these children from. One thing is that we have a couple of new people, which I want to trust because of how correct the other information was. And of course, that is up to you if you want to add those children in. So as we get down the line, you can see that there are other children of Jonathan Jones's parents. If you want to add those in as well, you can do that here from their tree. Okay, so we need to go up and we need to add the parents. And then I'm going to scroll down, and then I'm going to add in Jonathan Jones's siblings because we don't quite have those people yet. And I've also worked a lot on this line, so I know that these people are correct. Remember to cite your sources, so censuses, any other types of sources when working with ancestry trees. The reason I'm trusting this one so much is because it has a lot of sources as well as I've done further research backing it up. So now I am going to click Save to Your Tree. And I'll try not to edit this down so then you can see how quickly it goes. All right, that was how fast it went. It took maybe 10-15 seconds, I want to say. Now let's go ahead and go back to the tree now that we've added all those people. All right, I'm going to zoom out so we can see what we've added here. So we added Jonathan Jones's 2 siblings. So you can see that he has 2 siblings here. We can see his child, who is going to be Amos Jones, who was our main person that we started with. Now we can see from that one Ancestry member tree, we've added in a bunch of siblings of Amos George Jones, who was our main person, who are the children of Jonathan and Margaret Jones. So we could then go in and work on these hints here if we wanted to add them. So one thing I do want to do is I want to show you how to quick edit. So this is a really great tool that I think only Ancestry has. I know that Family Search does not have the ability to do this right now. But if you were to, let's say, click on Decatur Jones, we could do a quick edit here. So let's say that you were working in another tab and you found a piece of information, or maybe you had a physical copy of some record. You could do a quick edit of some of the basic information here. So a quick edit allows you to just edit some of the basic details of this person. So let's say we wanted to get rid of Decatur's nickname here and just have it be Decatur Jones. Let's say if we found a birth date, we would be able to add that in there, as well as a death date or death place. This is really great for you to add in some of that basic pieces of information without having to leave your tree view and go into that person. I'm going to click save here. There you go. You can see we have quick edited him. So really great tool. I've done this a lot when I have been in a family history library and I find a lot of different pieces of information from maybe a parent and then a bunch of different children about their birth or death places or dates. Now that we've done a lot on the tree, let's go ahead and go into Decatur Jones and we can show you how to search. So searching within Ancestry, we could just go up here and search and it'll enter in a bunch of different pieces of information and we can see Decatur Jones here and we can reference what information we already have. So we can see that let me zoom in a little bit for you to be able to see this. You can see that he has his name, his birth date and birthplace, and then for his death has his death place. And then we also have his spouse and his 3 children that we know of. Currently his parents are unknown. So this is great that we can see this and then we can search while we are able to see that and reference that before we go ahead and attach those sources. Let's go ahead and zoom back out a little bit so we can see some of the filters. So when you are searching, it is going to use what you have put into this person. So in this case, it's going to use what we have for Decatur Jones, and it's going to bring up the most similar pieces of information that we have. So the most similar one that we have is currently an 1860 census that shows his birth date and his name and his relatives, and it can show that it's in its hints. Now, because this is in his hints, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right person. You could either hover over it or you could go into it and you could check out this information for yourself. It's really great to be able to see the household members. So we can see here that Decatur Jones is the father, and then the spouse is Nancy Jones, and then it has 3 children. So we do know from going back up here that these 3 children are the same 3 children that we already have on our tree. So I would go ahead and say that these are very, very similar and that we could add this in. So let's go ahead and add this in here and save this to our tree. I'm going to save the record to Decatur Jones. And this is going to bring up that link, and you can see it adds a new residence here for everyone. And while you're here, you're going to also want to just double check the dates, see if there's any other pieces of new information that we could add. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save to tree. All right, so now that has been saved to our tree. I'm going to search again. And we can go back and we can mess with some of the filters. So at the top here, it's just going to show Ancestry member trees. I don't really want to go ahead and add this person because it is a different person. But if we go down, we can search for more pieces of information here. We could see that we have most similar at the top, which is going to be different marriage records from North Carolina. But if we wanted to search for a particular thing, let's say we wanted to search for a census, what we could do is we could come down here to the filters and click on census and voter lists. If we click on that, it will narrow down our search by just those censuses and voter lists. We could click the X to get rid of it. So you could also do it by birth and marriage records and death records. You could do it by military or immigration. You could look for just pictures, and you could narrow it down by the place. and it will only show you those records that have been tagged as being a part of those collections. So it's just going to be censuses if you click on censuses. It's just going to be military if you click on military. One more thing about search here is that you can add in your filter. So if you want it to be a broad search of anything that might be related to Decatur, you could do that. I know if we went into the census and voter lists, it kind of transformed Decatur into doctor. So if we wanted it to be exact, we could hit exact and then apply, and then we probably would not see doctor anymore. You would just see Decatur Jones. Also, you could do it for your birth date and the last name. So the broader you get, the less it will match the exact name, and the narrower you get, it will go to exact. So you could do this for last names, birth dates and places. So, and you can see if you hover over it, you could have it be exact for 1822, or you could have it be broader up to 10 to 15 years, plus or minus. What I would say is the farther back in time you get, the more broad that you want it to be, because records weren't kept as well then as they are now. However, if you are searching for someone who was born, let's say in the 80s, then I would have it be pretty exact, maybe plus minus 1 to 2 unless you had their exact birth date, because records here and now are kept a lot better than they were back then. All right, let's go ahead and clear. Other fields that you might be able to do and add are gender, spouses, and children. So that can be really great if you're searching with children to be able to find other censuses, maybe marriage records of the children. All right, let's go ahead and go back to the tree for the last few things that I want to cover in this tutorial. So now let's say that I wanted to share this tree with a family member. Personally, I work on this line a lot with my husband's grandmother. So if I wanted to share it with her, I could share it this way. So I could share it as a guest, a contributor, or an editor. And I could copy a link and invite them. So then if they had an Ancestry account, they could come work on this with me. This is great if you have some family members that you like to work with, or you're working with a genealogical expert. You could also do it via email, add their email, what their role is, and then send the invite. Or you could do it from their username. So that is how you quickly do that. So the next thing is, oftentimes you may want to print your ancestry tree. You could get this done from a printing place and they would be able to do that. Or if you wanted to just print out this basic piece of information, you could just click print and it'll print what you have just literally on your screen. You could go into a person, and that's a lot more effective to be able to have that information with you. Maybe you're going to a genealogical library and if you wanted to have this information printed out, you could go to tools here and then print, and then it will just print your pieces of information that you have. So I am going to click out and go back to the tree. And then finally, let's say you wanted to download your tree. So then you could send it to another person, or you could have it in another system, or however you want to do it. You're going to go to tree settings to download, and then go to export tree. And then you go ahead and export it. So that'll give you the file of everything that you've worked on, and you'd be able to export it into a GEDCOM file. But that is how you go ahead and use Ancestry for a beginner. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to give it a like. If you have any suggestions for a part 2 to this video, I would love to hear them, so then I can help you further grow your tree within Ancestry. This is a huge passion of mine, and I love helping people out. So thank you for joining me today. I'll catch you guys in the next one.